Hello and welcome to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard. Thank you so much for joining us again. We're going to be speaking with Dr. Shad Helmstetter this morning, founder of the Self-Talk Institute and best-selling author of more than 25 books in the field of mental health and personal growth, including the classic, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. He's joining us this morning to talk about his new app, SelfTalkPlus. Welcome to Health Professional Radio, Dr. Shad Helmstetter, and thank you for taking the time this morning.
Thank you.
Give us a bit of your professional background, if you would, and then let's talk about SelfTalkPlus.
I've been working in the field of behavioral research since the early 1980s, and during that time I began to notice that people who were more successful in life actually talked a little bit differently than people who were struggling. And I had a background in I was a foreign language interpreter prior to that time, and so with my language background, I put the two together and recognizing that we speak in a language, we use words that either help us succeed or help us fail.
Now, are we talking specific words or certain phrases? What exactly are we talking about when we're talking about words that help us succeed or fail?
Both, and the best way to where it becomes most obvious is in negative self-talk. Mm-hmm. That's when people say things like, I can't remember names, or I'm not good enough, or everything I eat goes right to my waist, or I get sick every time this year, every time, mm-hmm. or every year. And so those become, we just accept them as natural, thinking that they do nothing and don't really harm us. But in the brain, they actually work solidly against us.
So are you saying that the way that we talk to ourselves basically programs our brain?
Yes. As a matter of fact, people who think and speak mostly in the negative mm-hmm. actually wire more neural networks into the right prefrontal cortex of their brain, and that just happens to be a part of the brain that helps people or causes people to stop looking for solutions and flee or hide. On the other hand, people who speak or think most often in the positive actually wire more neural networks into the left prefrontal cortex of their brains, and that's a part of the brain that helps people search for alternatives and find solutions and take action. So when our own self-talk literally wires our brain to help us fail or help us succeed.
Are you unhappy because you're thinking negative thoughts, or are you thinking negative thoughts because you're unhappy?
Both. It's a cycle. But it's very clear that when you think negative thoughts, you change your chemistry to the point that you stop believing in solutions, or you stop thinking that there's a good answer, and so that the next step is despair, and after despair, there's always a sense of inability to do anything about the problem. So, yeah, they go hand in hand.
So, obviously, there comes a time in everyone's life when there is no solution, there is no way out, for lack of a better term, to a negative situation. Are you suggesting that we should stop thinking in the negative so that when the actual negative happens, we can deal with it or process it?
Yes, and that's a good way to put it. People who practice positive self-talk actually aren't practicing Pollyanna positive. The right kind of self-talk, healthy self-talk, mm-hmm. is very responsible. That is, it lets you know if things are difficult and what you need to do to get past the problem. So, yeah, the real answer here is that positive self-talk doesn't just mean, like I said, positive or Pollyanna thinking. It really means practical, optimistic thinking.
Now, as the author of more than 25 books in the field of mental health and, as I said, personal growth, what to say to yourself, or what to say when you talk to yourself, how difficult is it to change the way that a person talks to themselves? Maybe they've been talking to themselves this way for all of their adolescent life, their early adulthood, and now they're in the middle age or even their senior years, set in their ways, as it were.
It's not difficult, but it takes some effort. And that effort basically is in learning how to edit, first to monitor the self-talk you have now, then to edit it. And I also, for many years, have been recommending that people listen to recorded sessions of the right kind of self-talk, positive self-talk, because, as I mentioned, it's very much, changing your self-talk is very much like learning a new language. And, of course, we learn new languages best by hearing that language spoken. So a lot of people listen to self-talk.
Now, I understand that you've developed an app, SelfTalkPlus. How does SelfTalkPlus work, and how are we going to benefit from it, no matter where in life we are trying to change our negative to positive self-talk?
If you go to selftalkplus.com, you'll find an app there that lets you listen to positive self-talk sessions in a really broad variety of subject areas. So everything from health and fitness and weight, self-esteem, and so on and so on. So you actually listen to sessions, daily sessions of self-talk, about 15 minutes in length, and that begins to give you the kind of repetition you need for the brain to begin to wire itself with new positive messages.
Now, is this something that anybody can do, no matter what age, or
even very small children can listen to self-talk, and there are special self-talk sessions just for little kids and then older kids and, of course, all adults. And in the 4 decades that we've been working with self-talk, we haven't found anyone who doesn't benefit from it. So the side effects all appear to be on the side of helping the individual, whether it's in the area of health or whether it's in the area of general attitude.
How accessible is it?
Well, it's definitely accessible to everybody for the first 30 days because the app allows anyone to listen to self-talk free for 30 days. After that, it's a subscription program for $19.99 a month. But I recommend people try it, even if they just try it for the 30 days. You really begin to see the first signs of changing your attitude and your general self-talk in that short amount of time.
You know, with all that's going on today, especially with this pandemic, this is a very timely app where, you know, when people really, really need to speak positively, who may have been positive a year ago, but now not so much.
Yeah, the Self-Talk Plus app has gotten really popular during this year, and we recognize that it's because for the first time, many people, maybe in isolation, started to hear their own negative self-talk, and that became louder and louder as the difficulties got worse. So people this year have become very aware that they may be thinking in the negative, and they can sense that it's working against them, which of course it does.
Well, once again, give our listeners the website where they can go and learn about Self-Talk Plus, take advantage of the trial.
You can listen to Self-Talk at selftalkplus.com, and it's easy to do. Just go there and listen to a few sessions and see what happens.
Great. Well, Dr. Helmstetter, I thank you for joining us here on the program this morning. Lots of great information, quite enlightening, and I'm sure offering a lot of help and hope for a lot of people.
Thank you. You've
been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard, in conversation with Dr. Shad Helmstetter, Ph.D., founder of the Self-Talk Institute and selftalkplus.com. Audio copies of this program are available at hpr.fm and healthprofessionalradio.com.au. You can also subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Listen in, download it, SoundCloud, and be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com, Health Professional Radio.